You see that corner? It really does look good, but I made a mistake. If you notice, I didn't have to tape this angle. This angle here is all done, it's all finished, I didn't have to touch it. So when I did this, I did the ceiling and I did the wall, this wall, the first time I did it, and now I had to do these two angles and butt them into each other. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid that. I mean, if you have to do it, you have to do it. It's okay, but I always try to avoid that. I just didn't dare because I didn't have the other wall to do, and I just did it. This corner is going to take a little bit more touch up. Boy, I hope I can. I'm zoomed in too close or something. Okay, this wall is going to take a little bit more touch up, but if you look closely, there you go. Now you can see it. How I ended up having to do both sides of those corners rather than pick one corner one day and then the other corner the next day. So that's what you need to try to avoid. And also too, I just got another comment about you don't pre-fill the big gaps in your angles with Durabond. You know, I've been doing this a long time. I need to ask you the questions. Why do you pre-fill the big gaps in the angles with Durabond? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Seams? Absolutely. Seams need to be done. When this shrinks up, it'll crush that mud in the seam. It'll crush this mud in the seam, and you will get a ridge right down the middle if this is not pre-filled and you have extensive settlement. If you have extensive settlement in your angles, this wall goes this direction, this wall goes this direction, and it's going to leave a gap. If it's extensive, it's going to take that tape and it's going to make it round. There's nothing you can do about it. Putting Durabond in that angle is not going to stop that from happening. This wall is not going to crush into that wall. This wall is not going to crush into that wall. These two pieces of drywall are not connected to the same wall. They're connected to two different walls. And wood shrinks in certain directions. It shrinks this way and it shrinks down. I've seen angles all wrinkled because one wall didn't shrink, right? One wall stayed the same, and the other wall shrunk up and down like this, so the wall just ended up just pulling apart like this. So one went one direction, the other went the other way, and the angle was all wrinkled up, blistered and wrinkled. You had to cut it all out. Putting Durabond in that gap would not have stopped that. It would not have stopped that. Matter of fact, you put Durabond on the end of a piece of cut drywall, you can't even stick to it. It's on powder, and it'll get hard. You can just pull the Durabond off. So it's really not doing anything in those angles. This isn't going to shrink. This wall is not going to shrink this direction. It's going to shrink this direction and this direction, not this direction. It can't. It's impossible. It'll pull this direction. If it shrinks up this way, it'll go this direction, it'll go this direction, and it'll go that direction because it'll shrink, the stud will shrink this way. But it's not going to have any effect on this wall except the fact that it's pulling away from this wall. And they pull away from each other. Most angles just pull away from each other. So, I got to ask you, why do you pre-fill them? Is it because the paper shrinks up in the angle and you got to add a little bit more mud to fill it in? I mean, that's the only explanation I got, is the paper shrinks up into that corner a little bit and you got to add a little bit more mud. So, and I've done that. Don't get me wrong, I've done that, but I'm not going to waste my time pre-filling angles because I got to put a little bit of more topping in an angle to make it look good in the end. I don't have problems with angles. Never did. I haven't had problems with angles and as long as I've been a taper. And so tell me why you guys put Durabond in big gaps, and maybe I'll change. Hey, if you really like this video, subscribe, and if you really, really like this video, share it with somebody else. You have a great day.